it doesn't mean knowing everybody's trauma inside out, but it's understanding what makes them feel okay. You know, what is it the cat? Because if you know that this person has been through something quite significant and this cat is like an emotional support cat, right? Then, okay, understandable. That might be the case. Or there might be some kind of something else going on there that they don't want to talk about. Maybe they're in a domestic violence situation they don't feel comfortable telling you about.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There's so many other things if we don't get to know the people that we work with.
How can companies make it more comfortable and open to speak that way to each other? Because that's another big... I've seen this for years and years and years where there's like a blockage to it. Yeah. You know, it's almost maybe considered as weakness if people just tell their, you know, how can companies start to put systems in that can give a clearer communication, more comfort?
Can I just say how much I love your question? How can a company put a system in that can create that environment? That's the right question to be asking.
Yeah. Sorry.
but this is it. People are not asking that question. Most people are not asking the question about the system because they're still trying to fix it with stress management workshops or a breathwork session and things like this, right? They're still thinking, okay, well, our employees need to be well. We need to reduce sick days, so we need to teach them about nutrition, right? Like this is still the mindset that is very, very prominent. So the fact that you're even asking about the system is already a huge win in my eyes. So
thank you very much.
Way I would approach that,
I feel better about my difficultly worded statement. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean I go off on one on that, but I won't for now. But because I think the answer to your question is really important. How do we create that space? We ask people. We ask the team because everybody's workplace is different. You might be in a huge team. You might be in a small team. You might be in a team that has a mature management. When I say mature, I mean like emotionally intelligent enough to be able to create a space like that. Maybe there's a training opportunity that's needed there to understand a bit more about psychological safety. But the easiest way is ask. And you can ask questions like, tell me a time when you most enjoyed your job, where you felt most open and free and authentic. You know, you don't have to say, tell me about, you know, what makes you mentally feel well, right? You can frame it in different ways. And you can even ask these questions at onboarding just to get to know the person. And then from there, you start to recognize themes. Oh, okay, well, I felt really authentic when I was in this job because I had some autonomy, right? I had the freedom to turn my phone off in the evening, right? Or I knew my team really well.
We'll get into that.
We become friends,
phone,
right? So there'll be all sorts of different answers that come up. But immediately, just by asking that, it's no expensive intervention. There's no crazy thing you have to do. You just have to ask questions and listen. And then adapt accordingly. It doesn't mean you have to, you know, wrap everybody in cotton wool, but it means keep an eye on the themes because your team will tell you. And from there, you'll start to see if there's a shift in their behaviour, right? And that's when you know something is probably going to be wrong. So if you don't trust the person with the cat, right, it's probably because we don't actually know the person very well because connection breeds trust.
That is a very, very good answer, especially to my cat thing, because now I feel really bad. You know what I mean? But you see, because as you mentioned with the mobile phone, you know, and I was thinking about this yesterday where I was thinking, because I get all preoccupied with like, how did we get here? It's not like, what are we doing to fix it? It's more like my brain wants to trace back, you know, to that one moment, you know, that one thing that happened that suddenly just started to do this and none of us realized. And it's, when I went into management was 23 years ago, and my mobile phone was, I think, a Nokia 3210. So I'm just playing Snake on the bus going home, you know. But the thing was that I'd do my job, very stressful. You know, it was West End of London, big venue, lots of pressure. But I'd leave, and that was it. Yeah. There's no WhatsApp. There's no shared WhatsApp groups. There's none of this. Yep. You'd come back into work the next day to a load of headache, you know what I mean? Handwritten messages in a handover book and stuff like this. And my thought process got to a point where how much have we created this through 100% contactivity and the fact that you're supposed to be contactable at all times. Yeah. And how much is that eroding, you know, the workspace and causing these issues?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? Back then when you were describing, you left work and done, right? Halas, you're finished. You could go put your feet up, go to the pub, do whatever it is you like to do. And what that would do, that would open that window of tolerance that I mentioned earlier. You would recover. Yeah. Problem is now, we're not getting the recovery, right? You wouldn't expect your favourite football player to keep training consistently, like all day, every day, like every day of the year. No, they work in seasons. They've got periodization. They know when to rest. They know when to sprint. They know when to pull back, right? They know when they might need to work till midnight, right? Maybe not a footballer, but in the workplace, you know, you might know. But then you build in recovery to that, right? If you're in a healthier workspace. So I think it's a huge contributing factor because we're not getting enough recovery. And I think that's part of the problem.
And but you see, it's like, how much do people not get this? You know, it's where and it's not just the employers, it's the employees. It's like, again, I can only relate to hospitality. Hospitality is like, it's almost 24/7. It's definitely 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 a.m., you know, and you'll leave work, but there's shared WhatsApp groups. So you're not at work and the boss is, well, you're not at work. But when they're going, what's this all about? What's this all about? What's that all about? You know, on a shared group and it's ping, 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 ping. Your anxiety level shoots through the roof. And you're compelled to now answer, because again, as times with anxiety, when you take action, it can calm you down, you know. But then if you don't answer and somebody else answers, you know, now is that person looked upon more favorably at work? And all of this starts going off in everybody's heads. There's lack of transparency and there's too much judgment, I think. So if somebody's thinking, oh, well, because they answered on my behalf, now they see more favorably, again, there's lack of trust, there's lack of transparency within that role and what's deemed important. So from a leadership perspective, there has to be clear guidelines. And I think there's always going to be biases. I think we do have to be accepting of that. There are going to be some leaders that want the hustle and grind and they're going to favour that. And that's when the employee needs to question, is this the right environment for me? All right. But I think we're moving away from that. Maybe that's the optimist in me, and unfortunately what I'm getting exposure with the people that we're working with. But I think you're right. I think a lot of it is actually on the employee, because when we're stressed and we get stuck in these hyper or hypo states, we are then on a slippery slope to burnout, right? And now we're trying to prove ourselves, and that's one of the signals of burnout, right? So it's like, we're now trying to prove myself. So now it's this vicious cycle that keeps on going round. That's exactly what happened to me. That was when I crashed. I wanted to ask you about your burnout, you know, because again, you know, as with this podcast, in order to give the advice, I am definitely the person that just thinks, who are you to tell me?